Good morning, Dr. May, and anybody else who may stumble across this video. I'll be posting it to YouTube shortly. It's for my HCS 100 class and my Human Communication Studies class. Again, taught by Dr. Amy May. Throughout the semester, we spoke a lot about interpersonal and intrapersonal communication. However, today I will be sticking to interpersonal communication, and that, in layman's terms, is just how you interact or communicate or deliver messages to one other person or multiple other people. It's just conversation, day-to-day conversation, not even day-to-day, and could be workplace, school-related, romantic, platonic, whatever you want to refer to it as. It's just how you communicate with other people. The essay prompt that I will be speaking about today, reflecting upon myself and answering for Dr. May, of course, is the argument that pits face-to-face communication and CMC or TMC against one another. And for those who don't know what CMC or TMC is, CMC is computer-mediated communication. TMC is technology-mediated communication. Forgive me, but they're two different beasts. So I believe that each one has its own strength and own weakness, and that's what I'll be speaking about today. So to kick things off, we'll kind of go to face-to-face communication. I'm sure lots of people, and I believe it depends on demographic, age demographic, gender demographic. It's a personal preference at the end of the day. Lots of these things I'll be talking about today can fall down to personal preference, but I'll just be speaking from a neutral standpoint. Face-to-face communication, lots of people love it. I personally enjoy face-to-face communication much more. You can see a person's body language. Body language is very important, I believe, when you're speaking with people, regardless of the situation, whether it's workplace related, school related, family and friends, public speaking. Body language is very important. I learned body language is important doing our informative speeches during the semester. Authenticity and like trust and empathy, the way emotion is kind of delivered or reciprocated face to face is much more, it happens much more spontaneously, and I feel that not even being spontaneously, but it's a lot more intense. There's more emotion that can be shared through body language. The other thing I was going to get at, eye contact. In some cultures, eye contact is very important, but those are some of the strengths. Some of the weaknesses, however, some of the same strengths could be weaknesses for some people. A weakness, maybe I don't like to make eye contact with another individual. That might be a weakness for me. Body language. If you have poor body language, that person you're delivering that message to is simply speaking with, making small talk with, they might understand that you might not want to talk, and that might put a damper on a relationship, put a damper on the conversation for the time being. So, like I said, it depends on personal preference. Depends on personal preference, but there are pros and cons, and they can work for you or against you depending on how good your communication skills are. Same thing with TMC, technology mediated communication. Forgive me. Same thing with TMC. TMC. Some of the pros, it gets recorded. Like if I'm texting or sending an email, I aming instant messaging. I'm not sure how many people use IM anymore, but those things get recorded. Those messages get recorded. You can put more thoughtfulness into a message, into an email, even into a phone call. You do have somewhat of a buffer zone to think about what you want to say. However, though, coming back to that buffer zone, that could also be a con, because if I have too much time to type a message to someone, maybe work-related, that might be a positive thing, might be a plus. It's good to be very articulate, make sure you're saying the right things at the right time, saying the appropriate things. So that buffer zone is important. But however, maybe if you're speaking with a friend or a loved one or someone in a romantic relationship, if you have too much of a buffer zone, your message might not be that authentic. You could end up thinking you're telling the person what they want to hear. You have 5, 10, 20 minutes, an hour to respond to a person. Another con, a lot of people just think overall typing messages, video calling, speaking over the phone or over these technological devices kind of weakens or puts a hamper on your social skills outward, like your actual physical ability to communicate, hold conversation with people. Small talk used to be very important. Decades ago, people believe that small talk isn't working as well as it was now, but that's some of the pros and the cons. Like I said, personal preference could be your personal feeling. I do enjoy TMC, but for me, I think I get my kicks out of face-to-face communication. I think it's more authentic. You can build relationships faster. I read in an article by Anelli Eddy that TMC texting, you can get empathy and emotion through text the same way you can get it face to face, but at a much slower, less intense rate. And I don't think I like to. I don't mind taking time to build relationships, but I think it's much easier. It goes much smoother. The chemistry goes better when you have face-to-face communication. So I think that's a plus. Overall, though, technology has done a lot to communication. It's effective, especially in business, workplaces. Me being in the Army, working with signals and communications, I understand that technology is very important to get messages across. So it has really excelled the human race altogether. It has really been a plus, a big plus. Lots of people might think that technology has kind of put a hamper, put a strain on actual face-to-face communication, the way people interact with each other, the way people treat each other, the more attentive people are in their day-to-day lives. And I mean, that could be a possibility, but like I said, it's personal preference. And I think if everybody just began to kind of learn how to work around these pros and these cons and kind of integrate the two, there wouldn't be that much discrepancy. Everybody has their own opinion, yes, at the end of the day. Interpersonal communications, for me personally, especially virtually online, my family, we're old-fashioned. We kind of tend to stick to face-to-face communication. A phone call here and there is wonderful. Yes, I love to hear my family's voice, and I'm sure they love to hear my rants over the phone and through text. But for classmates, I never really spoke with my classmates that much, but I do tend to miss having actual classmates to help with classwork, to get assistance from, because I feel like, especially in a college environment, at Shippensburg University at least, I did kind of feel like we were all learning together, maybe at different rates, but I do feel like we were all learning together. I don't think I had a single course in the past 2 semesters where my classmates either didn't need assistance from me or I couldn't attain assistance from. So I think that was a real blessing. My professors, I miss my professors. I really do. Dr. May, I miss you. The interactivity, I think the dynamic of having someone be excited to teach you is something that I miss. But again, being virtual, it just prompts me to have to pay more attention. I read another article by Larry Krasner and Eddie Harris that being a student online in an online environment is very not draining, but you have to put more effort into that intrinsic want to learn. You have to pay attention because there is such thing called pseudo listening. It's just the act of paying attention when you're really not. So I'm like, that has happened to me. I'll admit it. I have caught myself dozing off or just daydreaming while I'm listening to a lecture, but I have to remember that those professors are putting their time and effort into teaching us virtually. So I'm like, I can put my time and my effort into listening also. Communication strategies I've employed to ensure communication in our new virtual reality. Safety is really important. You're so accessible to everybody now. Not everybody has the greatest intentions, so it's just important to be careful who you're speaking to virtually, regardless if you know them or not. You never know what could happen, so it's good to be insightful about those type of things. Overall, I think technology is taking a turn for the best. I think it's done more help than harm. It's given people who didn't have voices that they needed or necessary voices, people giving them voices beyond their beliefs. So I don't think there's many cons about it. Any of the cons are things that can be easily worked around. But lastly, I'll say communication is just another skill that you can work on. You can practice. I still practice and be conscious and try to be as aware as possible of how my communication skills are going. I do make mistakes, we all do, but I believe as long as we're all practicing healthy communication methods, means, whether it's face-to-face, email, texting, IMing, Skype, FaceTime, Uvu, regardless, I just think as long as it's healthy, it should be effective. And that is my video log for face-to-face versus TMC for my HCS 100 class for Dr. Amy May. Enjoy the rest of y'all evening.